Hi guys, my name's Anthony Cummins and I want to talk to you today about Squires. Now it's always fascinated me the similarities between feudal knights and feudal samurai. Most people like to concentrate on the differences, but of course I quite like the similarities. Now what we have to remember about feudal knights is they have a squire. Now a squire normally is someone who is appointed to them and trained with them and comes up with the knight who eventually, if he can afford it, becomes a knight. And he's knighted in the ceremony. Now the difference here in Japan is that, and our problems we have when we translate with our team, is the concept of squire in Japanese doesn't really translate, and this is where you truly find a bit of a difference. Now samurai, so for example, some knights are born as knights, and there's a lot of complicated history behind knighthood. But as far as a simplistic version is aware, simplistic version to give is that knights are born into, the knight is on the cusp, especially in England, the knight is on the cusp of aristocracy. He's not aristocratic and he isn't of common folk. He's got like one foot in each camp. And there's an entire history behind knights. So not to go down that route too much, but the knight has to be trained up and then anointed and goes through a ceremony to become a knight. Even if he's from a posh family or an aristocratic family, or if he's from maybe a lower family. The point is he has to go through this ceremony where technically a samurai is born as a samurai. He does go through a coming of age ceremony, but in short, a samurai who is born, a woman is born a samurai, she is of the samurai class. A man who is born of the samurai class is a samurai. And in the warring periods and before the peace periods when samurai were concrete, men could become samurai. But my point being is you don't go through a process of childhood training and then you're allotted samurai status in a ceremony. You simply are born into a samurai class, samurai clan and class, or through deeds of arms you're awarded the position of samurai back in the earlier days of the samurai. So what this means is you don't really have the position of squire in the samurai arts. What you have is the position of servant. So a samurai, what happens is a knight is, a son who's going to become a knight is born, he's given to somebody else to be fostered, or he's brought up in a certain way. They knight him if he can afford the title of knighthood. Whereas samurai, you're actually given, the father is given an allotted section of land to farm, the clan. Let's just say the clan have an allotted section of land to farm. The farmers farm it. And then when his son is born, his son is samurai. That's the end of that. And they bring them up in the family environment. And within the environment, they learn about all the samurai skills. They may even join a samurai school if their family arts don't fulfill everything. And they will learn the arts of the samurai. But a section of the father's land is broken up and given to that son to run. Or if he's further down the line and he's not, for example, in the case of Natori, he was on such a low koku, he was on like 25 koku, it's really quite a small amount, but they came from an Edo period, 300 koku, which in the Edo period is not great, but it's not small, because this is the time when we're no longer grabbing land. So 300 koku makes them a sort of middle-ranking, middle-class samurai family. And Natori is like the third or fourth brother. That means his first brother gets like a lot of the koku, like 200 odd koku, and the other brothers get 25 each. So as you can see, if you're born into a samurai family, you are a samurai, and you're given an allotted segment of land. Now that might mean that if you're further down the line, like the fifth, sixth, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth brother, that means you're going to get a lot less than the first main branch of the family. But of course you can go and do deeds of arms, you can go and kill lots of people, take lots of heads, and if you get good heads, it means that the Lord, especially in wartime, will allot you land. But of course that means another samurai family has to fall, or some samurai has to die at the other end. It's always a contest of land. Once a lord captures land, he gives away that land to his samurai. That's why in the Edo period, land, giving away bits of land and breaking up land was a lot more difficult because there was no more land to grab. They'd grabbed it all. So anyway, back to Squires. So this means that a samurai is a knight of Japan. He is a knight. He's an armoured feudal warrior, more than likely on horseback. So he doesn't just get up in the morning and make his own breakfast and make his own campfire and throw his armour on. He has to have a squire. But there is no squire there. So that means they have what are called servants. And these are non-military servants. But they do go to war with the samurai. So what we have to be careful here of is where it starts to dilute into different classes. You've got ashigaru, which are the footed soldier class. Now they're still of the military class. Even though some ashigaru are part-time, they're fighting soldiers. It's like a samurai is an officer and an ashigaru is a foot soldier. That's exactly pretty much how it plays out. So your samurai is not your average foot soldier. He's got land, he's got money, he's got vehicles, i.e. horses, he's got armour, he's got equipment, he's got the lot. Whereas an ashigaru might have to lend that equipment. But he's still a professional soldier. You know, that's what he does for most of the year, if not a big section of it. So the samurai needs someone to put his armour on and someone to make his fires. So that's where we get the servant, the non-military servant. Now that doesn't mean they're soft people. That means that they don't have a military role. And if we remember the book Samurai War Stories, it talks in there about how the samurai tells off his servant. He says, stop fighting alongside me. I do the fighting. I'm the samurai. You're the servant. Off. And that's what he's, that's how he says it, because they get annoyed with the servants wanting to fight. And of course some samurai might have want their servants to fight. So what we have to remember is we can't blanket coat everything and say that every ashigaru was professional. Maybe not. But most of them were battle hardened in the Sengoku period. Then you have the servants of the samurai, who are not all soft cowering wrecks. They're probably wily, crafty, Robin Hood's Band of Merry Men style guys who have to give sort of fealty and loyalty to the Lord because they're paying them cash, or at least giving them a roof. So that means that you've got, in the West, you've got a knight who's got servants, but he's mainly got a squire who's also a man-at-arms. He's also a military person, and he's studying to do and become a knight. And if he never becomes a knight, we start to use the term man-at-arms, which of course again has its own history. But in Japan you get a samurai who trains other samurai who are born as samurai, or other ashigaru get promoted to samurai. There is no promotion, or there is, but there's not a standard system of you're a young man, you're given to a samurai, and throughout time you're then made a samurai because you've served him. That doesn't really come about like you're born or your deeds make you a samurai. So the only real person who has a squire per se, which is a military person, is probably a general or a lord. A general has other samurai to hold his sword and to hold his torch and to hold the lantern. He generally has samurai around him, and they, in the truest sense of the word, can be called squires. Now, of course, I've given you a very brief overview, and there are probably lots and lots of examples where the boundaries are pushed out in and out. But on the whole, there is an observable line between the Western squire and the Eastern servant, and how the two probably don't match in this case. Alright, I'm going to leave it there, but it's something you need to think about when you start to imagine the samurai. Somebody chops his wood, somebody sets up his tent, somebody starts his campfire, somebody hangs his armour over the fire when they're smoking out the lice, somebody grooms his horse, somebody feeds his horse. Even though the samurai gets involved in these and does, is a man of the campaign, he's not sat there drinking tea, he is actually working on campaign, he has a servant to do it. So when we go back and imagine these things, we've got to start imagining the people around the samurai. Okay, my name's Anthony Cummins. Subscribe if you want to know more about the samurai and about the history of the samurai, and I'll see you later.